For nearly 2 centuries, one empire controlled more of the world than anyone had ever dreamed possible. From the sands of Egypt to the mountains of Afghanistan, from the shores of Greece to the borders of India, 50 million people, half the population of the entire planet, lived under one ruler, one vision, one law. This wasn't Rome, this wasn't Alexander's conquest. This was something that came before both of them, something that wrote the blueprint they would follow. The Persian Empire, the first true superpower in human history, built by a man who started with nothing, expanded by kings who moved armies like chess pieces across continents, and destroyed by a 20-year-old with a grudge and an unstoppable army. But here's what most people don't know. Persia didn't just build an empire. They invented the idea of empire itself. They created the postal system, the concept of human rights, the first declaration that all people, regardless of culture or religion, deserved respect. And when their cities burned and their kings fell, the conquerors who destroyed them couldn't help but become Persian themselves. This is the story of how a group of nomadic tribes became the most powerful civilization on Earth, how they ruled with tolerance instead of terror, and how their fall created a legacy so strong that it still echoes through every government, every empire, every nation that came after. Let's start with where it all began, modern-day Iran, a land of harsh deserts, towering mountains, and fertile river valleys. A place where civilization had already been evolving for thousands of years before Persia ever existed. This wasn't empty land waiting to be claimed. This was a crossroads, a place where the ancient world of Mesopotamia met the distant riches of India and China, where trade routes carved through mountain passes brought silk, spices, and gold from the far edges of the known world. But in the beginning, there was no Persian Empire. Just tribes. Around 1500 BC, nomadic peoples began migrating south from the steppes of Central Asia. They called themselves Aryans, meaning noble. They were Indo-European, speaking languages related to Greek, Latin, and the ancestors of modern English. They settled on the Iranian plateau and split into different groups. The most important were the Medes in the north and the Persians in the south, in a region called Parsa, which the Greeks would later call Persis. These weren't unified kingdoms. They were loose confederations of tribes, occasionally banding together, often fighting each other. But they were learning, adapting, and waiting for someone to unite them. Then in 550 BC, everything changed. A man named Cyrus stepped onto the stage of history. Half Persian, half Mede, Cyrus was born into royalty, but not absolute power. The Medes controlled the region, and the Persians were effectively under their rule. But Cyrus was different, brilliant, charismatic, ruthless when necessary, but shockingly merciful when it served him. In 550 BC, he revolted against the Median king, his own grandfather. The war was brief. Cyrus won, and in that single victory, he united the Medes and Persians into one people. One vision, the Achaemenid Empire, was born. But Cyrus didn't stop there. To the west lay Lydia, a wealthy kingdom in what is now Turkey, ruled by King Croesus, a man so rich his name became synonymous with wealth. Croesus thought he could crush this upstart Persian king. He consulted the oracle at Delphi, who told him that if he attacked Persia, a great empire would fall. He attacked. A great empire did fall, his own. Cyrus captured him, absorbed Lydia, and gained control of the Greek city-states along the coast of Asia Minor. Then he turned east, toward Babylon. Babylon wasn't just a city. It was the jewel of Mesopotamia, the cultural and religious heart of the ancient world. Defended by massive walls, irrigated by the Euphrates River, ruled by kings who saw themselves as gods. Taking Babylon should have been impossible, but Cyrus didn't storm the gates. He diverted the river. His troops walked through the riverbed, under the walls, and into the city while the Babylonians were celebrating a festival. The city fell without a single battle, and what Cyrus did next shocked the world. He didn't burn the temples, didn't enslave the population, didn't declare himself a god. Instead, he freed the Jews who had been held captive in Babylon for decades, allowed them to return to Jerusalem, let them rebuild their temple. He issued a decree, later called the Cyrus Cylinder, declaring that all peoples under his rule were free to worship their own gods. This wasn't just political strategy. This was revolutionary. Cyrus understood something no conqueror before him had grasped. You don't control an empire through fear alone. You control it through respect. By letting people keep their culture, their religion, their identity, they'll fight for you instead of against you. This was the Persian model, and it worked. But Cyrus never got to enjoy the full fruits of his empire. In 530 BC, he marched east into Central Asia to fight a nomadic tribe called the Massagetæ. Their queen, Thamyris, warned him to turn back. He didn't listen. In the battle that followed, Cyrus was killed. According to legend, Thamyris found his body, cut off his head, and threw it into a sack filled with blood, saying, "You thirsted for blood, now drink your fill." The greatest conqueror of his age died in the wilderness, far from the empire he built. But the empire didn't die with him. Cyrus's son, Cambyses II, took the throne and immediately looked south. Egypt, the land of the pyramids, the ancient kingdom that had stood for 3,000 years. Cambyses invaded in 525 BC and won. Egypt became a Persian province. The empire now stretched from the Mediterranean to the borders of India. But Cambyses wasn't his father. He was paranoid, brutal. He died under mysterious circumstances, possibly murdered, possibly suicide, and the empire teetered on the edge of collapse. Civil war erupted, provinces rebelled. It seemed the great experiment was over. Then a young nobleman named Darius seized power in 522 BC. And under him, Persia didn't just survive, it became the greatest empire the world had ever seen. Darius wasn't content to just hold what Cyrus had built. He wanted to perfect it. He reorganized the entire empire into 20 provinces called satrapies, each governed by a satrap who reported directly to the king. He built a network of roads stretching thousands of miles, with the royal road running from Sardis in Turkey to Susa in Persia, allowing messengers to travel the entire distance in just 7 days. He created a standardized currency, the gold daric, making trade easier across vast distances. He established a professional army, a postal system, and a legal code that applied to everyone. Persia under Darius wasn't just an empire, it was a machine. Efficient, organized, unmatched. He pushed the borders even further, north into Thrace and Macedonia, east into the Indus Valley. At its peak, the Persian Empire covered over 2 million square miles, 50 million people, dozens of cultures, hundreds of languages, all under one rule. Darius built monumental cities. Persepolis, the ceremonial capital, was a masterpiece of architecture. Massive stone columns, intricate carvings showing tribute bearers from every corner of the empire. Ethiopians bringing ivory, Indians bringing gold, Babylonians bringing textiles. It was a physical representation of Persian power, a statement to the world, we are untouchable. But Darius made one critical mistake. He looked west, toward Greece. The Greek city-states were small, disorganized, constantly fighting each other. They shouldn't have been a threat. But in 499 BC, the Greek cities in Asia Minor, the Ionians, revolted against Persian rule. Athens and Eretria sent ships to help them. The revolt was crushed. But Darius didn't forget. In 490 BC, he sent a fleet across the Aegean Sea to punish Athens. They landed at Marathon, a plain northeast of the city. The Athenians, massively outnumbered, did the unthinkable. They charged. The Persian lines broke. The fleet retreated. It was a humiliating defeat, and Darius swore revenge, but he died before he could return. His son Xerxes inherited the throne and the grudge. Xerxes wasn't going to make the same mistake. He assembled the largest army the ancient world had ever seen. Estimates range wildly, but ancient sources claim over 1 million soldiers. Modern historians think it was closer to 200,000. Either way, it was massive. In 480 BC, Xerxes marched into Greece. The Greeks should have been crushed. But at a narrow mountain pass called Thermopylae, 300 Spartans and a few thousand Greek allies held the Persian army for 3 days. It became legend. The Spartans died to the last man, but they bought Greece time. Xerxes pushed forward, burned Athens, and seemed unstoppable. Then the Greeks lured the Persian fleet into a narrow strait at Salamis. The Persian ships, too large and too many for the confined waters, crashed into each other. The Greeks destroyed them. Xerxes retreated. The following year, the Greeks won again at Plataea. The invasion was over. Persia had lost. But here's the thing. For Persia, this wasn't a catastrophic defeat. Losing a few cities on the edge of the empire didn't break them. Greece was a footnote, a mosquito bite. The empire rolled on, but the myth had cracked. Persia wasn't invincible. For the next century, Persia remained the dominant power, but cracks were forming. The empire was too large, communication too slow. Satraps in distant provinces started acting like kings. Rebellions flared up. Egypt broke free, then was reconquered. Court intrigue and assassinations plagued the royal family. King after king took the throne, only to be murdered by rivals. The central government weakened. Army, once the best in the world, relied more and more on Greek mercenaries. The very people they'd fought were now the ones keeping the empire together. And then, in 336 BC, a new king took the throne in a small kingdom far to the west. Macedonia. His name was Alexander. He was 20 years old, and he was about to destroy the Persian Empire. Alexander didn't just want to raid Persia, he wanted to conquer it, completely. In 334 BC, he crossed into Asia Minor with 35,000 troops and faced a Persian force at the Granicus River. He won. The Greek cities of the coast fell to him. The Persian king, Darius III, assembled a massive army and met Alexander at Issus in 333 BC. Despite being outnumbered, Alexander smashed through the Persian lines. Darius fled. Alexander captured his family, but treated them with respect. The Persian king had run. The myth was shattered. Alexander marched south, taking Tyre, then Egypt, which welcomed him as a liberator. In 331 BC, he returned and met Darius I, last time at Gaugamela, near modern-day Iraq. Darius brought everything: chariots, elephants, 100,000 men. It didn't matter. Alexander's phalanx and cavalry tore through them. Darius fled again. This time, he didn't stop running. Alexander chased him across the empire. Babylon opened its gates without a fight. Susa surrendered. Persepolis, the jewel of Persia, fell, and Alexander, either drunk or making a statement, burned it to the ground. The palace that had stood as a symbol of Persian power for 2 centuries went up in flames. Darius ran east, hoping to regroup, but his own men betrayed him. They murdered him and left his body on the roadside. Alexander found him dying. He covered him with his cloak, a final gesture of respect between kings. The Achaemenid Empire was over, but Persia itself refused to die. Alexander tried to blend Greek and Persian culture. He wore Persian clothes, adopted Persian customs, married a Persian princess. His generals were horrified. But Alexander understood what Cyrus had known. You don't conquer Persia. Persia conquers you. When Alexander died suddenly at 32, his empire shattered. His generals divided it among themselves. The Seleucid dynasty ruled Persia, but they were Greek for a time. Then, as always, Persia reasserted itself. The Parthians, an Iranian people, rose in the 3rd century BC and kicked the Greeks out. Later, the Sassanids would rebuild a Persian empire that rivaled Rome. Again and again, invaders came. Arabs, Mongols, Turks, and again they became Persian, adopted the language, the culture, the identity, because Persia was never just an empire. It was an idea, the idea that you could rule not through terror, but through tolerance, that you could unite dozens of cultures under one system and let them flourish, that roads, trade, communication, and respect could build something stronger than walls and armies. The Persians invented the postal system that Rome copied, the administrative structure that every empire after them used, the concept, written on the Cyrus cylinder, that people had rights, that conquerors had responsibilities. When the founding fathers of the United States wrote about governance and rights, they were echoing ideas born in Persia 2,500 years earlier. Today we call the land Iran, but the legacy of Persia is everywhere, in the way governments organize, in the way empires rise and fall, in the understanding that power without legitimacy is just violence. The Persian Empire lasted only 2 centuries in its Achaemenid form, but its influence has lasted millennia. This wasn't just an empire, it was a blueprint for civilization, a reminder that the greatest power isn't the ability to destroy, it's the ability to build something so strong that even your enemies want to become you. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more deep dives into the empires that shaped our world, hit subscribe. Let me know in the comments what civilization you'd like to explore next. As always, we'll see you in the past.